Hi there and welcome to Two Wheels, where this week I'm in Sheffield to check out Speedway. This week on the show, I'll be checking out the sideways world of Speedway, while Fran will be doing something altogether very different. Speedway's fortunes have been a pretty mixed bag over the last 30 years. Back in the sport's late 70s heyday, it was on the television more often than Big Daddy and his wrestling chums, and crowds at a Speedway match would often exceed those at First Division football games. However, since then things have changed when first of all the sport slid from our television screens and then it slid from our minds. It seemed the beginning had come for the end of Speedway. The teams were still going, the riders were still riding and the stadiums still hosting the meetings. But as far as public interest went, it was all game over. But with TV coverage back on the rise once again and money coming back into the sport, Speedway could be enjoying something of a renaissance. I'm not sure we'll see top UK teams larging it on the front pages of the Red Tops alongside Beckham and his mates, but one thing's for certain, crowd numbers are definitely up. Anyway, all of this seemed like the perfect excuse for me to come here to Sheffield Stadium, home of the Sheffield Tigers, to find out a whole lot more about this lunatic bike sport from the men at the sharp end, and to have a crack at it myself. I have always wanted to ride one of these things. Neil Mackin is Sheffield Tigers promoter and knows more about Speedway and the team's home at the Sheffield Stadium than most people have forgotten. I caught up with him to see where the sport was at these days. So then Neil, tell me a little bit about this venue, because I understand it's actually been used for Speedway for quite some time now.
Yes, the place was built in 1928 to stage speedway racing when the sport first entered this country, and opened in 1929. We've staged speedway here on and off ever since, apart from the war years, and it's renowned as one of the biggest, fastest racetracks in the British League.
Now, what is it that actually makes the circuit so fast?
I think the shape of the track, it's wide, it's a full throttle type of circuit, and of course you've got different passing lines. You can ride up the curb or you can ride right on the kickboard, and so it's fast and furious right from the start. Just on those kickboards for a minute, I don't see a lot of runoff here. No, not a lot of runoff at all. You have to avoid the fence, that's part of the Speedway.
Just get ready to catch it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, now Sheffield Tigers, this is their home ground. How are things going for them at the moment?
Well, we're very good. We've been a tremendously successful team really since '99, since we went for our all-English policy, and we've won the league twice since then, and last year we won just about everything in the Premier League, and we are actually triple champions as we speak.
Wow. So the trophy cabinet is bulging.
Yes. But
it hasn't always been that way, has it?
No, there was a time when I first came here where we had to search the planet for suitable competitors, and it was always tough putting out a competitive team in those days. Most of the guys in our team, being all English, are homegrown, and it's great job satisfaction for the youth development and progression of the sport.
So in the same way that the team is building and enjoying success now, do you think the sport as a whole is also on the up?
I see it as being slow growth to some extent, and I think the whole industry is having some growth, which is obviously very reassuring. It's a good value, fast-moving, exciting, colourful product.
Excellent. Well, there you have it. There's the potted history lesson. Join us later when we'll be having a look at the hardware and I'll be having a go at riding Speedway. But before that, here's Fran. Now, Neil, just how fast are these bikes?
Well, 0 to 60, 2.2 seconds, rapid from the start line.
These are just some of the phrases us bikers have been known to mutter when faced with the fact that our beloved two-wheel beauties have been taken without our consent. That sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach when realising your bike is gone is faced by many bikers the length and breadth of our glorious country every day. But what can we do? How can we stop these thefts happening? What is there to help protect our pride and joy and deter the thieves in the first place? Well, stay with me for the next few minutes as I talk you through the current range of motorcycle security products you can buy. Not wanting to sound like a blithering idiot, I've enlisted the help of Jenny from Motrax Motorcycle Accessories. So Jenny, a brief overview of bike security. What are the things that we need to be doing to stop these thieves getting their hands on our bikes?
Well, there's three systems we can use. The first one is mechanical deterrence. That's locks and chains, disc locks, shackle locks, that sort of thing. That will physically immobilise the bike and stop the thieves from making off with it.
Right.
The second one is alarms and immobilisers, the mechanical security devices. And these ones will alert people that there's a thief around, and they're a very, very good deterrent. And then the third one is the vehicle security marking systems, where you have a unique PIN number which is marked onto every single panel and component on your bike. And then if the bike does get stolen, the police are then able to scan it and find out who it belongs to.
Right, brilliant. Okay, so that's what we need to be doing. What are the products out there that can help us?
Okay, we've got a few here. The first one is a disc lock. Nice and small, easy to carry about.
Nice and heavy, isn't it?
That'll go onto the front disc of the bike and stop the bike from being pushed away. The only problem with it is obviously you can't lock it to anything.
Yeah.
So if someone comes along with a truck, the bike can be lifted.
Right, so how much would that cost?
They vary in price, but this particular one, the Disc Doctor, is $19.99.
Right, so it's not a bad start, is it, for wanting to keep your bike kind of in one place?
It's a good thing if you're out and about. It's very easy to just take out your pocket and lock your bike.
Whip it out and put on your bike, absolutely. What about this one?
This one's a D-lock, or a shackle lock. Bit more security offered there because it'll go right through the front forks on the wheel and stop the wheel from turning. You can also use it to lock two things to stop the bike from being lifted.
Right, so you can put it around a little post or something. I mean, it looks and it feels very substantial, but how easy, I know it wouldn't be easy, but how quickly would you be able to get through that?
Well, this one is one that's been tested by the insurance industry, and they attack test it for 5 minutes.
Right.
So it's a substantial piece of equipment.
Absolutely.
Only $39.99, so it's a good thing to put on your bike.
40 quid, it's a peace of mind. Absolutely. Next up?
Finally, we've got the traditional lock and chain. So these come in varying sizes, varying lengths. The good benefit of those is that they'll lock the bike to something again so that it can't be lifted away.
Yeah.
The price will vary according to quality. This one's mid-range, it's £60 and it's the quad link.
Right. A very nice piece of kit. Thank you very much, Jenny. Well, that's about all we've got time for in part one. I'm going to hand you lucky people back to our Wazza. Remember when he had bleached hair, Wazza? Yeah. It's right tall, didn't he? Do you remember it? Yeah. Should we get a kettle on?
Welcome back to Sheffield Stadium, where I'm now here on their training circuit because I'm about to learn all there is to know about riding a 500cc bike sideways on dirt with no brakes. And my number one mentor for the day is going to be Sheffield Tigers rider and local legend Ricky Ashworth here. All right, Ricky?
You all right?
Now then, tell me a little bit about this. Sideways, 70, 80 horsepower, on dirt, no brakes. What's that all about?
Yeah, it does come across very well to spectators as such. It is a very fast and competitive sport. The bike is very unusual to the ordinary motorcyclist, should I say. There's a lot of differences with the sport. It's based on 4 riders, 4 laps. The times we get extremely fast. The speed's average of 70 miles an hour, so it's a very, very fast and furious sport.
And from a rider's point of view, I mean, coming from a road riding background, sideways, no brakes, it's very unnatural. How do you begin to learn it? How did you get into the sport?
Well, I got into it watching TV as a kid. I seen it on television, and then went to watch, and I got really interested and wanted to have a go. So I started doing grass track, which is very similar. I did that for a couple of seasons and went into Speedway like a lot of youngsters do, and came through that way. Or you get a lot of kids coming through and coming to this place, and riding bikes of much lower CC, learning how to ride Speedway. It comes naturally, I suppose, in one way, but it is very fast. But this sort of track, it's small, so if you can ride this track well, you can ride anywhere, I suppose.
All right, and so when I go out there today, I'm presuming I'm not going to be jumping straight onto a bike like your competition machine here.
Yeah, it is very fast. There's no brakes, you know, and you're riding on a track that's got a solid fence around it. So it would be best if, you know, we've got a 125cc CG engine, Honda CG, which is like the road bike you take your test on.
Probably the most boring thing you'll ever ride. I'm assuming this one isn't in the same league.
Yeah.
Presumably it's not quite the same when it's got a sprocket this big at the back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got them going, you know, pretty well. You leave them in one gear, and they're perfect for training on. You see, you know, not too fast. You can slide them, so yeah, you know, do a few laps on that and get used to the feel of a speedway bike, and then hopefully by the end of the day, you know, have a go on a 500. Something
a little bigger. But there's just one thing on my mind, Ricky. I'm just wondering, what are my chances of taking these two collarbones home in one piece today?
It depends if you know which way to turn the throttle.
It's only good. All right then, well, fingers crossed. So Ricky, we've got two bikes here, one of which is your 500cc competition machine. The other's the smaller 125 engine type that I'm going to be learning to ride on today. Tell us a bit about this 125.
Well, it's ordinary speedway chassis, not any different dimensionally to the modern speedway bike. One of the major differences with this is it's got a 125 engine in, which is perfect for training on, really.
Not too vicious in its power delivery, despite that huge rear sprocket.
Yeah, that's just so we can get the gear ratio right, so you can leave it in one gear and ride around this track here.
Right, so it's clutch out, throttle on and go.
Yeah.
So when you're off the start, is it a question of banging the clutch out at high revs, or do you have to feed it or feather it? What are you doing with it?
It all depends on how the surface is, really. If it's a grippy surface at the start, you know, you want to have full revs on, you know, with your weight as far forward as you can get to stop it from lifting.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's slick, you've got to try and feed it off with less gas and, you know, put your weight through the bike.
Yeah. All right, now just finally, which of these two is easier to ride?
Well, I would say that this 125 will be easy to ride. You know, they can be a bit of an handful, the 500s, if they're not ridden. The harder you ride it, the easier it becomes.
Right.
So you just got to remember that when you're riding around.
I'm starting in the right place then.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I've got my all-important Sheffield Tigers bib, I've got Speedway boots, I've got a bike, we're on a track, I've got everything. Trouble is, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Fortunately, Ricky is going to be along to teach me what to do, and as well as that, show us how it really should be done. That's all coming up after the break, so join us then. Welcome back to Two Wheels here at Sheffield Speedway, where we're finding out all about going sideways on two wheels. But before we get on with the Speedway, here's Fran.
Welcome back to Motorcycle Security. In part one, we looked at what we need to be doing to make our bikes safer and at the products that are out there to buy. Now let's turn our attention to insurance, the bane of our existence. There are products that can lower your premiums when fitted to your bike, but what are they? OK, Jenny, talk us through these money-saving investments.
Well, we start off with the Governor disc lock there.
That's this one.
It's a Thatcham compliant disc lock. Which means that it's been tested by the insurance industry for quality and for security as well.
Right.
It's $39.99 and it will go onto the disc of your bike and stop people from pushing it away.
Right. So that's pretty handy. And $39.99, that's not out of the way, is it really?
No, it's a definite good investment.
Yeah. And how much would something like that then possibly save you on your insurance?
The mechanical devices will save you up to 5% on your insurance premiums.
So that's good then. Yeah. Right. OK, so that's that one. That's all we need to know about that. What's that?
This one is the Superlink chain. It's a great big heavy chain.
Yeah.
That one's got the added bonus that it will go around not only the bike but around a lamppost or something similar and stop thieves from lifting it into the back of a van.
Right.
So that one is a very difficult one to break into, also Thatcham compliant.
Yeah. So how much would that set you back then?
That one costs $109.99.
Right.
Which, when you look at the amount of money that you're going to save if your bike was stolen, it's well worthwhile.
Absolutely, and it is a good thick heavy chain. I wouldn't like to see what could go through that, if anything. Yeah. Right. So that's the mechanical things. That looks electronic to me.
Yes, top of the range immobiliser and alarm system.
Right.
It's the Spyball model. It's category 1 Thatcham approved, which is the ultimate in security.
Right.
It will immobilise electronic circuits on your bike. So, for example, the ignition circuit won't work if a thief tries to force it on.
Right.
And you've also got the visual and audible warning. So you've got a big siren, very, very loud, and all the lights flashing on the bike.
Right.
So everybody will know if somebody is trying to touch your bike.
So now, how much would that set you back then?
That one has to be fitted by an approved Spyball stockist.
Right.
And it will cost £300 fitted.
Right. But then how much do they save you?
You can get up to 10% discount off your insurance premium.
So it's a big saving. I mean, some people may say, oh, but it only pays for itself, you know, but you're actually stopping your bike getting nicked, which is a lot of hassle and heartache, isn't it? So what happens here then? That just goes under the...
That would probably go under the petrol tank on the
Yeah.
bike, depending on the model of the bike. And it's got movement sensors in, so that if the bike rocks, it will pick it up.
Right. Fantastic. Well, they're pretty good products, aren't they? And well worth it, I say. Okay, quick recap. We know what we need to deter the thieves, we know what products we could buy to protect our bikes, and we know what products we could buy to lower our insurance premiums. Brilliant, but what if money was no object? What piece of kit is going to be a typical bike thief's nightmare? What is the ultimate lock?
The bottom section of it, the cylindrical bit, will drop right into the ground and be concreted in, so that it can't be lifted out again. Then with a good chain through it, lock your bike to it. Nobody can lift that bike into the back of the van. The top section, the square bit, will drop right down into the ground when you're not using it, so that you can drive a car right in over the top of it.
So how much would this cost us?
The ground anchor itself is £79.99.
Well, that's not bad at all, is it?
No, good value, but don't forget that you do need to buy a Thatcham compliant chain to go with it.
Yeah, that's very true. But a good idea. Nobody's going to move that. Well, this baby would have any would-be bike pincher quivering like a thumb-sucking lump of jelly. Wow. So there you have it. You can rest easier now. Myself and the Two Wheels team have given you bike security enlightenment. Until next week, happy biking.
Well, this is the weirdest thing I've ever sat on, but there's no more time for messing about. It's time to go and try and ride. Well, I reckon I might have managed nearly 8 or 9 laps there, and already I've been down on my face. Watching Ricky go out earlier, he was sideways the whole way round, massive cloud of dust. It looked very simple indeed. He made it look incredibly simple. I've been out, the front felt like it was going to go the whole time. Eventually it did. The back, I didn't have a clue what it was doing. I reckon it may have slid out perhaps this much at times, but I tell you what, from where I was sat, it felt like about this much. What an intense experience, but on top of that, so difficult. But for a maybe slightly more balanced view of how I did, Ricky, what did you think?
It wasn't as bad as you may think you was. I've seen a lot worse, you know, put it this way. It just does go out to show how difficult Speedway actually is to ride. You know, you see it on TV and you can watch at a meeting and it does look easy, but it just goes to show, you know, how difficult it is. It's all about practice. We ride, you know, during the season, up to 4 times a week, some weeks, you know, so it is very tricky. It just looked like the front wheel went away from you, which is a classic in Speedway, you know, to a novice.
How could I have avoided that if I'd...
Well, to be fair, the bike isn't very powerful, you know. If he was very light and small, you'd probably get round on it a lot easier. But you just need to maybe put a bit more weight on your left foot, you know, in going into the corners and just give it some more gas.
So do you think maybe we need a little bit more power now?
Yeah, I would say it's time to have a go on the 500 and see what you think.
Well, let's get on the fast track and try the 500. Well, if Ricky reckoned it was time for the 500, I wasn't going to disagree with him. And I'd had quite enough of falling off the 125, so I reckoned I could probably do a far bigger and better job on the bigger bike. Well, that's it for us from Sheffield Speedway. I'm finished wobbling around. I am going to be aching so much tomorrow, just head to toe. I've taken a pounding. So I'm not going to be riding, and no one wants to see that anyway. We're going to leave you with Ricky doing it properly.